Before my world came crashing down, I was Chris, a man living out the standard template of the American dream in suburban California. I had a decent job as a project manager at a tech company with a six-figure salary. It wasn't top tier, but it was enough for a comfortable middle-class life. My wife, Christine, my college sweetheart, was a kind and gentle elementary school teacher, the warmest light in our small family. We didn't have some earth-shattering love story, just the quiet comfort of a love that flowed like a steady stream. Our shared dream was simple: to plant the backyard of our mortgaged house full of the roses she loved, and in a few years, once we'd saved enough, to have a child, preferably a daughter with a smile as radiant as hers. Back then, I was confident, optimistic, maybe even a little arrogant. I was proud of my career achievements and content with the beautiful, clearly laid out future we had. I thought life would unfold like one of my project plans, moving step by step, precisely and flawlessly, toward success. I never imagined that beneath the calm surface, an undertow powerful enough to devour everything had already begun to churn. And the thing that triggered it all was just a seemingly harmless pastime. Our company had a cool culture. Colleagues were close, and we often went to a bar after work to watch a game. I'd always been a sports fan, but only to the extent of enjoying the game. That changed on a Sunday night, the year of the Super Bowl. Everyone in the office joined a friendly betting pool organized by our manager. It was $20 a person to guess the final score and the winner. That was my first time gambling, if you could even call it that. As it turned out, by sheer luck, I won the whole $500 pot. That $500 was like a stone tossed into a calm lake, and the ripples it created were far larger than I could have imagined. The feeling of winning, that instant joy of getting something for nothing, was strange, more thrilling than receiving my quarterly bonus. A colleague of mine, Jack, clapped me on the shoulder. "Chris, with luck like that, it's a shame not to play for real. It's so easy on your phone now, you can play anytime, anywhere." He showed me a sports betting app on his phone. The interface was sleek and shiny, the odds flickered in real time. It looked like a professional financial trading platform. "Is this legal?" I still had a sliver of caution. "Hey man, we're in the 21st century, Jack shrugged dismissively. "It's legal in Europe, and we're just participating online. Nobody cares." That night, I downloaded the app. I told myself it was just for a little fun, just with the $500 I'd won. If I lost it, I'd delete the app. I cautiously placed a $50 bet on a regular season NBA game, betting on the Lakers to win. That night, for the first time, I wasn't watching as a fan, but as a gambler. Every point scored, every turnover, made my heart pound. In the end, the Lakers won by a narrow margin, and my account balance turned to $95. The feeling, it was exhilarating. The sense of control, of turning my judgment directly into cash, was intoxicating. I started pouring more time into research, no longer enjoying the games but turning teams, players, injuries, and historical records into data points. I created complex Excel spreadsheets and subscribed to professional sports data analysis websites. I told myself this wasn't gambling, it was value investing based on data analysis. I saw myself as a Wall Street analyst, except my stocks were the individual games. For the first month, my luck was incredible. The number in my account went from $500 to $5,000, then to $10,000. I became bolder, my bets growing from tens of dollars to hundreds. I bragged to Christine about my winnings, telling her I'd found a way to make money faster than my salary. She was a little worried, but seeing how confident I was, she just told me not to get addicted. I laughed and promised I wouldn't, thinking to myself that she just didn't understand the thrill of this intellectual game. However, once Pandora's box is opened, it doesn't close easily. And good luck always runs out. The turning point was a college football game I considered a sure thing. A top-ranked powerhouse was playing an unknown underdog. All the analysis, the data, the expert predictions pointed to a slaughter. I was blinded by my winning streak, convinced this was a gift from God. I bet everything in my account, all $30,000. I was already daydreaming about using the winnings to buy Christine a new car. The game started just as I expected, with the powerhouse team taking a commanding lead. I was sipping my beer, enjoying the feeling of a victory within reach. But in the final quarter, everything changed. The underdog team, as if injected with adrenaline, scored 2 unbelievable touchdowns and then, with a last-second long-range field goal, won the game by a single point. The final score froze on the screen. My mind went blank. $30,000 gone in less than 3 hours. My first reaction wasn't regret, but a furious, bitter disbelief. I couldn't accept the loss, and I certainly couldn't accept that my expert analysis could be so catastrophically wrong. "It's okay, just bad luck. You'll win it back on the next one," a demonic voice whispered in my head. That was the beginning of chasing my losses, the first step every gambler takes on the slide into hell. To scrape together more money to bet, I started to lie. I told Christine I'd invested the money in a friend's project that had a temporary loss but would bounce back soon. It was the first real lie I ever told her. To win it back quickly, I started dipping into our joint savings, the money we were setting aside for a down payment on our house. I told myself over and over, just this one time. Win it back and I'm done. The result was predictable. I lost even more. My bets got bigger, my mindset more frantic. All analysis and reason were gone, replaced by a frenzied, desperate need to break even. It took me less than 2 months to empty our joint savings account. I didn't dare tell Christine, so I had to weave more elaborate lies. I told her our money was tied up in a high-yield investment with a 1-year lock-in period. From that point on, I was living a double life. In front of Christine, I was still the gentle, attentive husband, desperately maintaining the facade of a normal life. But when she was asleep, alone in front of the computer screen in the dead of night, I was a different person, a gambler with bloodshot eyes, consumed by anxiety and greed. I stopped hanging out with friends because I needed the time to research games. I was distracted at work, my mind filled with odds and outcomes. I zoned out in several important meetings and was called out by my boss. Soon, I had lost all of my own savings. I started maxing out my credit cards, 1, then 2, then 3. I applied for every high-limit card I could get, taking cash advances on all of them and feeding it all into that bottomless pit. When every card was maxed out, I turned to online loans. The interest rates were terrifyingly high, but I was past caring. They were like a drug, a temporary fix for the withdrawal I felt when I had no money to gamble. My life was completely upended. For that 1 year, from 2014 to early 2015, I lived in hell. I sold my car, telling Christine the company gave me a transportation stipend and that taking the subway was more convenient. I secretly pawned the diamond necklace her mother had given her as a wedding gift, then lied and said I'd taken it to the jeweler for a cleaning. The most unforgivable act was when I exploited my parents' trust. I told them I needed capital for a business venture and had them mortgage the house they had lived in for 30 years, borrowing $300,000. That money was gone in a single week. I remember it clearly, the night I lost the last of that huge loan. I stared at the $0 balance on the screen and felt like all the blood had been drained from my body. There was no anger, no bitterness, just a bone-deep numbness and terror. I did a rough calculation. Credit card debt, online loans, money from friends and relatives, plus my parents' mortgage. I had lost a total of $2.6 million. Of that, nearly $1.2 million was real, interest-bearing debt that I had to start repaying immediately. The straw that broke the camel's back was a notice from the bank. It wasn't addressed to me, but to my parents. It was a foreclosure notice. Because I hadn't made a payment on their mortgage for 3 consecutive months, the bank was going to seize their house. My father called me that day. His voice was trembling and weak in a way I'd never heard before. "Chris, what's going on?" "The bank says they're going to auction our house." I couldn't invent another lie. On my end of the line, I collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. You can't keep a fire wrapped in paper forever. When Christine saw my devastated state and the stacks of collection letters from different banks and loan companies in my drawer, she understood. She didn't scream or cry hysterically. She just looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, a mixture of shock, disappointment, pain, and a sliver of pity I dared not interpret. "How much?" she asked calmly. Like a criminal awaiting sentencing, I confessed the number. She stumbled, grabbing the wall to keep from falling. A dead silence fell between us, a silence more terrifying than any fight. The days that followed were true judgment. The calls and texts from collection agencies were an avalanche. They had illegally obtained the contact information of all my friends and family. My phone, Christine's phone, my parents' phones, they were bombarded 24/7 with threats and insults. My Facebook and Instagram were hacked. They exposed my gambling debts to the world, posting pictures of me and my family. The relatives who had lent me money showed up at our door. My uncle, the one who had always doted on me, who gave me my first seed money for a business after college, stormed into my house, pointed his finger in my face, and cursed me with the most vicious words. He called me the shame of the family, a complete and utter liar. My parents stood beside him, having aged 10 years overnight, bowing and apologizing to everyone on my behalf. In that moment, I wished I had never been born. I lost my job. My reputation was destroyed. I was shunned by everyone. I felt like a rat hiding in a sewer, too ashamed to see anyone. I locked myself in my room, unable to sleep, with only one thought in my head: end it all. That night, I went to the rooftop of our apartment building. 30 stories up, the evening wind made me unsteady on my feet. Looking down, the city lights were brilliant, the traffic a river of light, but not a single one of those lights was for me. I felt superfluous, a person whose existence only brought more pain and humiliation to my family. If I just jumped, all the debt, all the shame would be over. Just as I swung one leg over the railing, the rooftop door was thrown open. Christine rushed out and wrapped her arms around my waist, holding on for dear life. "Chris, get down! Get down from there!" she screamed, her voice torn apart by sobs. "Let me go, Christine, let me die. I'm just a burden to all of you. I'm not a man, I'm an animal." I cried out. "Money can be earned back, but if our family is gone, nothing is left," she shrieked from behind me. "Whatever you owe, I'll pay it back with you. Just give me a chance, give yourself a chance. We'll get through this together. We'll get through this together." Those 5 words struck me like a bolt of lightning, shattering my despair. I looked at her tear-streaked face, the woman I had sworn to protect for the rest of my life, now bearing a pain that should never have been hers, all because of me. What right did I have to die? How could one life ever repay what I owed her, what I owed my parents, what I owed everyone? I stepped back from the edge of the roof and fell to my knees, holding her and crying like a lost child. We decided to leave that place of sorrow. I needed to be somewhere no one knew me, to begin my penance like a monk. Without hesitation, Christine sold all of her jewelry, including our wedding rings, to scrape together a few $1,000s. Together, we boarded a bus to a city we'd never been to. The night before we left, my father-in-law, a quiet man who'd spent his life as a blue-collar mechanic, found us. He drove up in his old, beat-up pickup truck. He pulled an envelope from his pocket and pressed it into my hand. "Here's $4,000. It's your mother-in-law's and my emergency savings. Take it, get settled over there, and don't you dare mistreat Christine." He didn't say a single word of blame, just clapped me on the shoulder. I opened the envelope. Inside were stacks of old $20 bills, smelling of motor oil and carrying the lingering warmth of an old man's hand. It was the heaviest money I had ever held. I couldn't control myself any longer. I fell to my knees before him, pressing my forehead hard against the cold pavement. "Dad, I'm sorry. I was wrong." My father-in-law pulled me up inside. "Everyone makes mistakes, Chris. As long as you're willing to change, you're still my son-in-law." That night, I cried until I had no tears left. I swore that from that day on, I would live like a beast of burden until every last debt was paid and I had earned back the dignity of a man. We chose a city in the Midwest with a low cost of living. With the little money we had, we rented the cheapest basement apartment we could find. It was dark and damp, and a musty smell hit you the moment you opened the door. Christine and I spent 2 whole days scrubbing every corner with disinfectant before it was barely habitable. The first order of business was to find work. A man with my reputation couldn't go back to his old industry. I swallowed all my pride and self-respect and signed up for every gig work app one could find: DoorDash, Uber Eats, Amazon Flex, Instacart. I bought a beat-up, second-hand Honda that was on its last legs and began my life as a gig worker. Those days were the hardest of my life, but also the most grounding. My everyday was a routine. Wake up at 4 a.m. to drive my old clunker for an early morning Amazon Flex delivery route, weaving through the city's streets as the sun began to rise. I'd finish around 9 a.m., eat a cheap energy bar in my car, and immediately turn on DoorDash and Uber Eats to start delivering food through the 2 p.m. lunch rush. In the mid-afternoon, I'd scramble for Instacart orders, pushing a cart through massive grocery stores to shop for others. The dinner rush, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., was prime time, and I'd rejoin the army of food delivery drivers. It was usually past midnight before I could drag my exhausted body back to that cold basement. Christine worked just as hard. She was a waitress at a coffee shop during the day and a cashier at a 24-hour convenience store at night. We were like 2 machines that never stopped, working relentlessly with a single goal: to pay back the debt. We made a huge debt repayment chart and taped it to the wall. It listed every creditor, the amount owed, and the interest rate. Every time we paid off even the smallest amount, we would cross it off with a red marker. That chart became our only hope and motivation. The hardest part wasn't the physical exhaustion, but the mental anguish. While delivering food, I'd often end up in the kind of upscale neighborhoods I used to be familiar with. Seeing the brightly lit houses, I would be reminded of everything I once had and everything I had lost. Whenever a gambling ad popped up on TV or my phone, the familiar interface and tempting odds would still feel like a devil's summons, making my heart race. A few times, I even opened the app. But just before entering my password, I would remember Christine's cries on that rooftop, remember my father-in-law's calloused hands. I would immediately shut off my phone and slap myself hard across the face, again and again, until I was fully awake. Rainy and snowy days, a nightmare for most delivery drivers, became my festival. The bad weather meant platform bonuses and customer tips would skyrocket. I'd drive my sputtering car, skidding on slick roads and crawling through snow, without a shred of complaint in my heart. I knew that every extra dollar I earned that day brought us one step closer to getting our heads above water. A normal person could never understand how desperately a drowning man will grasp at any straw. Gradually, I got used to this life. I stopped thinking about my past glory and stopped fantasizing about a beautiful future. I focused only on the present moment, on delivering each order well, on earning every penny. Christine and I were frugal to the extreme. We almost never bought new clothes, and all our food was purchased on sale at the supermarket. For years, our only entertainment, on our rare days off, was to take a walk in the park, something that didn't cost a cent. 9 years. 9 whole years. I used the most precious 9 years of my life to pay the price for 1 year of madness. I miss my friends' weddings, my relatives' birthdays, and 9 years of a changing world. My youth, my connections, my former career, they were all gone, never to return.